So you're homeschooling, and maybe it's just not working out the way you thought it would. Your kids are struggling. What they want to do is not what you want them to do, and your expectations are they're not coming true. Your dreams for what was supposed to happen when you started homeschooling, they seem far away and hard to reach, and you've tried everything you know to try, and it's just not working. And you think back to what it was like when you were in school, and you think about your learning style and what motivated you, and then you try all these different things that seem to work for other people, but it's just not working. And I don't mean it's not working because your child isn't learning anything. You know it's not working when your kids aren't happy and when you feel stressed. So the judgment as to whether or not the homeschooling is working isn't how good your child is doing on their lessons, but the joy in your home. So if the joy is just not there and your kids aren't happy and you feel stressed, then you need a new approach to homeschooling. So, I have lots of kids, so many, 15, and they all have such unique learning styles. 10 of them were born into our family in ages now 9 to 25, and we adopted 5 more from Ukraine who didn't even speak English when we adopted. I've had so much experience with so many different types of learners. And what I've found is that most of my kids don't have the same learning style that I do. Now, some of them do, and some of them don't. But what I had to do to be able to make homeschooling joyful for each child and less stressful for me is to get a good grip on what each child's learning style was. So I started reading books on learning styles, different types of education, different types of homeschooling methods, and I really began to understand that what works well for me may not work well for every child, and what works well for one child may not work well for every other child. So when I first started homeschooling, I started with my son Isaac, who was a very eager learner. And he was one of those kids that started reading at about age 4 and was just such a good little student. He loved playing school. He loved going from one subject to another, and he never got bored, and he just had so much fun homeschooling. And then the next one, she wanted nothing to do with homeschooling, and she just wanted to create all the time. And then the third one came along. She also didn't want anything to do with the books that I had and the methods and the homeschooling materials. She wanted to study what she wanted to study, and she wanted to go far deeper into her interests than any homeschooling workbooks could take her. And so I start out with these 3 kids, and I'm thinking, how can I homeschool 3 kids on 3 different grade levels who have 3 totally different learning styles? And what I decided was to become a student of my children to learn what motivates them. As more children entered the family, I began to realize that the 4th one, she was happy to learn anything as long as we were doing it together. And then the 5th one wanted nothing to do with books and only with horses, unless the book was about horses. So I had these kids that were so different, and when I would try traditional methods with any of them, nothing was working. But I really did believe that homeschooling would give me the keys to unlock their learning styles, to learn what motivates them, and to give each child a customized learning experience that could help them become what they were created to be. And so I began to just learn about each child, and I tried so many different things, so many different methods, and the biggest challenge was the fact that when I figured out what worked for a kid and then I tried it on one of the other kids, it didn't work for them. So I'm going to share with you what I learned and how understanding each child's learning style really took the stress out of homeschooling and freed me up to empower them to become self-led learners. So let's just jump right in. What I've discovered working with my children and hundreds of other families is that there are 5 different learning styles. Now, I bet you've heard of the 5 love languages. What makes a person feel loved? It's not always the same thing. Some people feel loved through words of affirmation, right? They feel the most loved when you're telling them that you love them, that you appreciate them. Some feel loved when you serve them and you care for them and you do things for them. Some just feel so loved and so special when you give them gifts. Others need hugs and kisses, while another type needs quality time. And if you're not spending enough time with them, then they just feel distant and they don't feel loved. Understanding these love languages unlocks this understanding that I don't need to spread myself so thin trying to make an effort to do all these different things for the people in my life. Understand their love language and focus on communicating love through that language. And in my house, my love language is acts of service, and I think I only have 1 kid out of 15 that has that same love language. And so I've had to learn how to love them in their language. And what I want to challenge you to do today is teach your child and set them free to learn based on their unique learning style. So let's get into it. What I've discovered is that there are 5 different learning styles. And it's not like what you've heard before. Some, they are creators. The motivation for them to learn anything is a desire to create. And so these kids are going to be so motivated to learn because they have something in their imagination that they want to do, they want to make, they want to build, they want to create. And everything else fades away in the shadows of their desire to create. So it's so hard to motivate them to learn unless the end goal is their creative project and their creative ambitions. The next is the explorer. Explorers are motivated to learn when they get to learn something fresh, something new, something exciting. They go from one thing to another, and it seems like they have a very short attention span because they are motivated by novelty. They just want to try and do and experience the next thing, and they are always on the move. They are not going to sit still, and they're not going to be interested in things that are boring and monotonous and require them to sit still. We call these learners the explorers, and we need explorers in the world, don't we? So we need to respect the fact that they learn through exploration. Let's think about those kids who love to research. Yes, there are kids who love to become experts, and I call them the detectives. And these kids, they want to focus on one thing that fascinates them, one thing that they love, and they want to go deeper and deeper and deeper into learning about that one thing. So you may have a child who is absolutely obsessed with dinosaurs and reptiles and dragons. Or maybe they want to learn everything they can about cats. Maybe they're fascinated by space. A lot of times these kids, they're really excited about science. And they just want to go deeper and deeper, and they want to become an expert. Sometimes the detectives are really into sports, and they memorize all kinds of statistics that they think are just fascinating. And they don't do well with typical schoolwork because they don't want to study 5 subjects a day. All they want to do is learn as much as they possibly can about rocks. Or maybe they want to learn about bones and fossils. Maybe they want to understand the human body. But whatever it is, it's probably not found in a 3rd grade curriculum, or 4th, or 5th, or 2nd, because they are just so focused on the thing that they love. And if you think about it, if you allow them to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into that one thing that they love, they are going to become an expert, and they're probably going to build a career or a calling on that one thing that they love. The next learning style I want to talk about, these are the friend learners. Now, these kids, they can be bright, they can be really good at getting schoolwork done, but you know what? They don't want to be alone. They always want to collaborate. And these kids are motivated by relationship. They want to collaborate. They want to be on a team. They want everything they do to be meaningful to the people that they love. So they may be just fine at math, reading, science, and social studies, and you wonder, why are they struggling? Why are they so unhappy? Why do they need so much help? And that is because they are what we call the friend learner, and they are designed to be part of a team. They may be leaders, they may be followers, they may be collaborators, but these kids thrive when they get to be part of a team. They want you to be there with them. They want a sibling, they want a friend, they want a pet, but they're just so passionate about relationship. And they're not going to sit still all alone and be a good little student. They're going to be chatty, and everything they do, they want to show somebody. They want somebody to interact with them, be proud of them. These are the friend learners. Now, last of all, we have a learning style that is very, very popular with teachers, and often very, very popular with parents who are homeschooling. We call these kids the followers. Now, a lot of times, we try to teach all of the children and all of the students to become followers because the followers are so easy to teach. They love following instructions. They enjoy learning how to do things step by step. They love pleasing the teacher. They love pleasing mom. They love pleasing authority. They're motivated by scores, motivated by grades. They really love structure. They're happy to do workbooks. They're happy to sit still. They just want to be recognized by their accomplishments. And they want you to see what they're doing, that they did well, and they want to make you proud. And these kids, they may not be interested in the science or the social studies or the history. They may not be interested in the math, but they're deeply motivated by a desire to please. And so I'd like you to give it a little thought. What type of learner are you? Think back. Now, you might be a little bit confused because when you were a child, there's a good chance that you were in a school where only one learning style was appreciated, and that is the learning style of the follower. They probably tried to fit you in that box to get you to be compliant and obedient and a good little student, good little follower. If you're a friend learner, you may have been a really good student because of your desire to please your teacher, but you probably had a lot of trouble in class because you were talking too much, but you loved maybe sports. You loved recess because you got to go out, you got to play on the playground. You loved lunchtime because you got to sit and talk with your friends. You loved the walk to school or the bus ride or the walk home, the bike rides. To you, school was all about social, and learning, well, that was just something you had to do. So maybe you are a friend learner. Maybe you really were a follower and you just loved getting good grades and making everybody proud, and you love that step-by-step learning, but you have a child who's one of those creators who don't do anything structured and make these big creative messes all over the house, and it looks like they're not learning anything. Maybe you're a detective and you're always researching, you're always learning, you're always studying, you're always digging deep, trying to find the solutions. But maybe you did really well in school because you knew that you had to do well in school to be able to move to the next level. Or maybe school was very boring for you. A lot of times, the kids who are detectives, when they're 4 and 5 years old, they ask millions of questions. They seem so brilliant, so smart. They're little experts. They're little professors. They're little detectives. They know every dinosaur name. They can identify every rock. And then they go to school. You expect that these smart little kids are going to just do great in school, but they are so bored. And they're so discouraged because they want to learn. They want to learn about the things they love, and they're being told not to ask questions. They're being told to be quiet, and they're being told to just study what's in the book and get the right answer. And these kids who have these brilliant minds, who love mystery, who love learning, who love research, end up becoming a little bit depressed. But sometimes there'll be a spark. And they'll just look forward all day long to their science class where everything else is just boring. And sometimes these kids can become just either depressed in their class, or they can become the kids that talk back to the teacher a lot and sass off to the teacher and act like the know-it-all. It depends whether they're the introvert or the extrovert, but it's just so sad to see these brilliant kids struggling so much when they have to work with typical curriculum. And then we have the explorers, and maybe you're an explorer. Think about it. Did you love the field trips? Did you love just learning new things and wanting to explore new things? Did you have so much trouble sitting still and you just couldn't wait until you could get up and, for lunch, for recess, for sports, just getting in the hallways and talking to friends and getting to get out and then getting home, and you just couldn't wait to get home? You couldn't wait for summertime where you could do what you wanted to do and you could play, you could explore. These kids are often labeled with like a ADD or ADHD because they can't focus on one thing for a really long time because they're wired to constantly be learning something new. And so if you have this type of learning style, you're probably so excited about so many things. You've created a vast library, all kinds of experiences for your kids. You want to take them from place to place. And if you have a child who's also an explorer, you're going to have a great time. But if you have a child who has a different learning style, might be a struggle. You're going to have to learn how to slow down and understand your child's learning style so that you can give them the best experience. And then we have the creators. Are you a creator? Are you one of those creative moms who have so many ideas? Maybe one of your favorite things is actually designing the homeschooling environment. You like creating the curriculum. You like creating the environment. You like making the classroom. You like shopping for all the supplies. And you have so many creative ideas. Maybe you're really into art and music and writing. And you just think that you're creating this really fun, imaginative experience for your kids, but for some reason they seem distracted and not interested, maybe even bored. Maybe they're not creators like you. Maybe they're a follower learner. Maybe they're an explorer. And so let's talk a little bit more about each of these learning styles so that you can get an understanding of what your learning style is and how to work with the children who have a different learning style, or maybe you have kids with the same learning style. One thing I want you to know and want you to think about is the goal is not to make every child into a follower. The goal here is to understand your child's unique learning style and help them to learn in the way that they learn best. And so it's not like you're just going to give up and say, I'm a follower and my child's a creator. I give up, sending them back to school. I can't handle this. I need structure. Well, you're the mom and you are the adult, and you do have what it takes to homeschool your child. Here's the thing. Your child was given to you because you have what it takes to raise them to become exactly who they were meant to be. So maybe you are a follower and maybe you love textbooks and workbooks and step-by-step learning. You have this child who's this brilliant, creative artist. You can successfully homeschool someone who's different from you. It's possible, but what you have to do first is let go of the expectation that your child is going to change and become a different type of learner. That's not going to happen. If you're just trying to get your child to become a different type of learner, you're both going to be stressed out. Homeschooling is going to be so much fun when you embrace your child's learning style. So here's the thing. We actually don't need every single person in the world to be a follower. Schools are designed to create good employees because a majority of the people in the world are followers and are not leaders. They are employees and they are not the business owners. They are the consumers. They are not the creators. But there are so many people in the world who are the creators. They are the detectives. They are the leaders. They are the team players. And we need to equip them to become everything that they were created to be. Guess what? If your child is a creator, then they were meant to create. Isn't that a freeing thought? They weren't made to just be inside this box and become a standardized person. You have the opportunity to embrace your child's creativity and help them to understand what it is that they want to create. And then you, as the parent and as the homeschooling mom or dad, you get to collaborate with your child and equip them to create that thing that they are here on this earth to create. The thing about creators is their learning experience is going to look so different from that of a follower or even an explorer. So let me help you understand, first of all, how creators learn and how they accomplish their goal to create something. If you are a creator, you have this incredibly imaginative mind. Like most people think with words and sentences and have conversations going on in their brains, not the creators. The creators have worlds in their imagination. When they're thinking, they're not just thinking one word that follows another. They're thinking up cities and stories and music and full color 3D movies are going on in their head. And they are designers, artists, architects, and they can see things in their mind, 3-dimensional. And here's how it works. The creator will get an idea, and they'll have this longing and this dream and this desire, and it feels like a calling in their heart to build something, to design something, to create something. And so what happens in their mind is they get an image of what that dream looks like, and they can envision this thing that they want to create, that they want to build. They see it 3D, full color, full-on architectural masterpiece in their mind. They've got the whole story. It's all there, and they need to download that and bring it into reality. And it's all they think about. It's all they dream about. It's all they want to do. What you need to do if you have a child like this, first of all, you need to draw the dream out of them. Be curious about what's going on in their head and find out what is it that they want to accomplish. The neat thing is that what they want to accomplish is so far out of their area of ability, education, and expertise. But they are so motivated to collect the tools and the knowledge to create that thing that this is the key for you as a homeschooling parent. Get a good idea of what it is that your child wants to create, and then begin to provide them with the learning experiences and the tools and the examples that they need to create that thing. So what they're going to do is they're going to work backwards from the vision in their mind, and they're going to take that vision apart, and they're going to need your help so that they can figure out what they need to know, what they need to learn, and what they need to accomplish and acquire to make them able to create that masterpiece. You may be years away from seeing this masterpiece realized, but if you support your child in their quest to create this masterpiece, and you begin at a young age to allow them to major in the area that's required, they're actually going to become experts. They're going to become equipped. A lot of times kids with the creator learning style also are labeled with dyslexia. And they really struggle with reading because in their minds, they have these vivid, beautiful minds, just worlds in their imagination. So staring at a white paper with flat black letters is just confusing to them. Their brain's trying to pull the 3D, pull the color out of the page. It's just not happening. It's not happening for them. But here's the key. When they're motivated to create something and the ability to read is going to be required for them to create that thing, they're going to begin to have the desire to read. And for kids with dyslexia and for these super creative people, they will not learn anything without desire. You cannot force someone to desire anything. And so what I'm doing is I'm giving you the clue into how you are going to help your child to overcome their learning struggles. A lot of times you just can't even imagine how hard it is for these kids to sit down and learn something unrelated to their passion and their dream. But you are homeschooling. So you have a chance to spend the next 5, 10, 12 years on helping your child to become everything they need to be to create that masterpiece. And they can just invest so much time and energy and learning into this quest to create that they're going to go so deep in learning how to master all the skills needed to accomplish this thing. They are going to be very well-rounded learners in the end, because what they want to do requires so much learning and such a depth of learning, and it will take collaboration from you as parents to get them going. Let's say the thing that they want to create is something you have no knowledge of. Then you get to join your child on that quest for learning. But what you're also going to want to do is to bring in some other experts. So find somebody in your community or someone who has a YouTube channel who's already doing something similar to what your child wants to create, and connect them. Connect your child to other people who are already doing it. Those people who are already doing it can come alongside you and begin to teach your child too, whether it's just through YouTube videos or documentaries, or maybe your child can be a volunteer with that person. Give it some thought. How are you going to inspire your creator to become everything they were created to be? First, you have to let go of that idea that they need to be standardized, that they need to learn everything step by step from workbooks and textbooks. You're going to take on an approach that's more like directed learning and unschooling, but you're going to be there alongside your child, helping them to get the tools they need to create the thing that they want to create. And then, of course, there are going to be things that they're going to need to learn that maybe they can't understand why they need it. So you need to choose your battles here. What are those things that you feel are very important to your child's development that they're not learning in their creative process? Think about what those things are and come up with some strategy to make sure that they learn those things. But the best thing you can do is help them to understand why they need this. They may say, I don't need math, I don't need reading, but help them to understand how reading and math and maybe even history are connected to their desire to create. Now, let's talk about explorers. So, explorers are so important in the world. Without explorers, we would not be exploring space. We would not be exploring the deep sea. We would not be building boats and going to unknown places. So many people just want to stay in the comfort zone. They want to stay where things are familiar. They don't want change. That's not the explorer. Explorers will go out into the great unknown, not knowing what's coming next, and they love it. But they are not going to thrive sitting still in a desk doing the same thing over and over and over. These people that are motivated by a desire to go and to learn and to see and to do and to try, it's like they so often want to do so many different things in one day, and you, mother, father, are going to wear yourselves out, not because you're empowering your child to explore new things, but because you keep trying to bring your child back into this really boring situation where they don't get to be themselves and they just have to sit still and do things they hate. So let's not do that to our explorers. There are enough standardized people in the world. We don't need more. Figure out what it is that your child really is passionate about. And a lot of times, they are fascinated by the world. They want to know what's out there. Are they fascinated by travel? Are they fascinated by the animal kingdom? What is it? I would just encourage you to begin to be courageous in your child's life about introducing them to new things and taking them on adventures when they want to learn something. These kids are bright. They have fast working minds, and they're going to go from one thing to another. They often become really good at a lot of different things. For example, I have one child who's an explorer who plays dozens of different instruments. The passion is music. Music is a great thing for explorers because there's always another instrument they can learn to play. There's always another song that they can write. There's always another city with another concert with another group of people. So music is just one of those areas that is exciting for an explorer. Also, travel. If you have a child who's an explorer, they are actually going to really love geography and social studies, but they're not going to want to call it that. Call it travel, call it culture, but they will be excited about learning what is going on in other parts of the world. A lot of times they love food and they want to try new foods. So with these kids, let your homeschooling become a buffet of learning and don't expect these kids to sit still. Put all their school stuff, all their books into a basket or a backpack and let them just study where they want to. If you have a child who's an explorer and you want them to be a standardized kid who does the workbooks and the textbooks step by step to try to make them like everything else, they're going to be depressed, they're going to be unhappy, and they're going to be troublemakers. So why not embrace your child's drive to explore and discover and use that to the fullest? I have another daughter who's an explorer, and she loves animals. She especially loves birds. And so she always wants to learn all about the different kinds of birds, all about their habitats, all about what they eat. And you can never stop learning about birds. There's always another bird. She also got really interested in endangered species. And so there's always another animal that's endangered. And these kids, these explorers, as they get older, they're going to develop a calling that's going to be their driving, motivating force. And so they're going to be motivated by this sense of adventure and risk, but what's going to be really important to them is this calling and this sense of justice and this desire to do good in the world, this desire to rescue, to save, to help, to unlock. And so if you have this child and they don't want to sit still and they just can't stand the workbooks and the textbooks, I want you to start thinking, what is my child's calling and how can I help prepare them for that calling. And a lot of times it's a calling abroad. It's a calling to missions. It's a calling to solve some problem, some injustice in the world, calling to rescue animals, or I don't know. Explorers are always different. They may want to go to space. They may want to inhabit Mars. They may want to build rockets. But just don't try to make these kids sit still and do multiple choice questions and memorize things. These kids are created to be explorers, and we need to empower them and equip them and trust them to do that. And I'm going to show you a few fun schooling books that I've created that work well for these different types of learners in a little bit, but let's keep going. Detectives are so fascinating because they go deeper and deeper and deeper into their passion, and they love to tell you about what they're learning, and they do get really passionate about the things that they're interested in, and they are so motivated to go deeper and deeper. See, the creators, they have in their mind something they want to create. Well, the detectives have this mystery they want to solve, or they want to learn everything they possibly can about this topic that they're passionate about. And there often is a calling or a quest involved with what the detective is after. But unlike the explorers, they don't go from one thing to another to another. They may just be absolutely dedicated to learning everything they can about the clouded leopard, and you will hear about nothing but the clouded leopard for 5 months straight, and you'll be like, I didn't know you could get so deep into the life and habits and the dangers of the clouded leopard. But believe me, you can, because I have a kid that did. It's amazing. The challenge with the detectives is similar to the challenge you have when you're working with a child who's an explorer or a creator. They want nothing to do with a standardized education. It doesn't work for them. All the time they're thinking about this passion of theirs where they want to go deeper and deeper and deeper into learning this thing that is their life dream, calling, vision, to really unlock the mystery of whatever it is that they're passionate about. And for some of these kids, they can be passionate about this one thing year after year after year. But let's say it's horses. And I have a daughter who is a detective learner, and she was passionate about horses from the time she was 5 years old. And that was the only thing that motivated her. And I went along with it because she's dyslexic. She didn't learn to read until she was almost 10, but she did keep learning and keep going deeper and deeper. I found out that you can study literature from the perspective of horses. You can study science from the perspective of horses. You can study history from the perspective of horses. You can study economics, war, geography, all from the perspective of horses. You can study medicine from the perspective of horses. You can study therapy from the perspective of horses. Nutrition, there's no end. Even art, there's so much art that is related to horses. We just got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into horses. And in doing that, we were learning all about the world. And my daughter developed a really deep capacity for learning and for research because she was so driven by her love for horses. And so I want you to understand that if you have a child who has the detective learning style, don't be afraid to let them become an expert, because that is what they will do with their lives. So they may be someone who is going to go deep, 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 deep into one area, or they may become an expert in many things. But for these kids, they need to have a dedicated learning space where they have resources, access to more resources, and where they have privacy and quiet. And so if you know that you have a child that is a detective learner, I think that they would really appreciate it if you help them create a little space where they can study and where they can do their research. I have a daughter who was a detective type who was crazy about reptiles. And she just loved research. She was first, she was obsessed with weather. And then she was obsessed with reptiles. And then she was obsessed with the creation evolution debate. And then she eventually became obsessed with photography. So she went from one thing to another. But I remember one day I took my 3 oldest kids out for ice cream. And I asked them, what is your favorite thing in the world? And my son Isaac, he said, figure skating. And then my daughter, Anna, she said, ice cream. And then my daughter, Esther, who was 7 years old at the time, she goes, oh, that's easy, research. 7 years old and passionate about research. And I remember it was before I really began to understand the different learning styles that I was trying to create kind of a classical school at home, Charlotte Mason experience for my kids where they all had the same learning path, the same types of books, the same types of learning experiences. We had a cute little classroom with desks, and I found curriculum that I really liked, that I thought they would like, that they didn't like. But I remember that I kept trying to get Esther to engage in these books. She was so smart. And I remember one day there's a thunderstorm, and I have all the schools set up for them, and I'm dragging the kids into the schoolroom, and Esther's sitting by the window, and I'm like, Esther, you need to come do your science. And she's like, I am doing my science. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, I'm tracking the weather. And then I'm like, what do you mean you're tracking the weather? So she shows me her journal. She's like 8 years old, and she had been tracking the weather for like days and days and days. And she just has all these little marks, like what time of day and what the weather's doing, what time of day and what the weather's doing. And that day she was writing the time when the lightning would strike and then the time when the thunder would come. And I thought to myself, as I looked at the science book, that second grade science book, and I looked at her weather journal, and I thought, okay, what she's doing is far deeper, far more enriching, and far more meaningful to her than what I'm trying to get her to do. So with this child, she became an absolute unschooler. And she just had such a desire for research and such a desire to go deep into studying the things that she was passionate about that there was no schoolwork available that could possibly compare to the depth of learning that she was doing on her own. All I had to do was teach her to read and then set her free to become who she was created to be. And I hardly had to do much work at all to teach her to read because she was so driven to learn to read that all we did was teach your child to read 100 easy lessons. We did like the first 20 lessons, and we did a video series called Meet the Sight Words, and she was reading. And then she was reading encyclopedias. And but she was so different from her older sister with dyslexia, who just always wanted to create. So what I ended up doing, Isaac is an explorer, and he wanted to learn so many different things in a day. Anna is my creator, and she just wanted to create. And so Anna got to major in the arts, and Esther got to unschool, while Isaac really did well with a very active education where he was learning lots of different things, but he needed to stay very active. So we got him into cooking and figure skating and gardening. And then he also enjoyed making money, and he loved Legos. I'm talking about when he was a little kid. He loved music. And so his school, we were like changing activities like every 15 or 20 minutes of the day. But he was really, really passionate about world history. And so he would spend short amount of times studying everything else, but he would study a lot just spent a lot of time studying world history. He loved reading books on world history. He loved listening to a CD series called Story of the World. And that makes sense for explorers because so much of world history is the exploration of the world and the development of cultures. And he was so excited about that. But with the detectives, unschooling actually works really well for them. And so does fun schooling when they get to study the things that they love and journal about the things that they love and go deeper and deeper into those things. And I'll share with you a little bit more on resources later. So then we have the learning style that I call the friend learner. And this is just so different from the three others that we just talked about. The friends are created to collaborate. And these kids, when they're sitting there just doing school by themselves, they'll try to cooperate, but they're so distracted. And it's like they need you there all the time, and they can't learn unless you're doing every single thing with them, or they're working on a project, and they just want to go play. And they want to talk, and they want to play, and they want to do things together. So what are you going to do with a kid like this? Either you're going to be helping this kid all day long to help them to get standardized and do their schoolwork, or you're going to embrace their learning style and you're going to find ways where they can spend their day learning through teamwork, collaboration, through making food, through serving others, through volunteering, through helping a younger sibling or an older sibling with a project. It's really hard when the friend learners are an only child and they just constantly need attention all the time to get anything done. But the friend learners need to be engaged with others. They need to be part of a team. They need to collaborate. So when you're working with this child, you got to fill up that love tank. Their love language is probably quality time, and they need you there. They love reading out loud together. They love listening to podcasts together. They enjoy sharing with you everything that they're learning. But when you think about what they actually enjoy learning about, is a lot of times that they want to be a team player. They want to be a nurse. They want to be a doctor. They want to be a firefighter. They want to be a policeman. They want to be a teacher. They want to be in a role in their future where they're helping others and interacting with others. And that's very, very important to them. So get these kids involved on some kind of project or some kind of team where they can work with others. If they are wearing you out, you may want to get an older student, like hire a 12-year-old to come and help your 6-year-old friend learner with her schoolwork. They will totally cooperate with whatever schoolwork you want them to do in most cases, as long as somebody cares about what they're doing and they're collaborating and they're doing it together. Also, a key with these kids, they're only going to want to do the things that they see you doing. They learn so much by example. And so if you're homeschooling a child who has this friend-learner style, you can work with them. And so fun schooling is great for them because with fun schooling, the moms have homeschooling journals and the kids have homeschooling journals too. And so if you're doing your mom school at the same table where they're doing their homeschooling, they don't need to be talking to you nonstop because they see that you guys are doing the same thing at the same time. Another thing that works for these kids is get them a pet. A little guinea pig or a rabbit or a lizard or a fishbowl on the table. They just need to be interacting with either a person or an animal so that they can just ease that loneliness. And it's okay that your child has this learning style. And the goal isn't to try to teach them to be more independent. The goal is to embrace your child's desire to interact with others. We do need so many people in the world who are great at collaborating and being part of a team. And so embrace this learning style in your child, that your child learns when they are motivated by collaboration and teamwork. And in the future, Your child is probably going to have a job or have a calling or have a role in the family that's going to be all about teamwork. So encourage and do not discourage your child who learns through collaboration. And now, last of all, let's talk about the most popular learning style, the follower. So there are genuinely students in the world who naturally thrive with typical schoolwork. They really do. They love it when things are systematic. They love multiple choice. They love studying for quizzes. They love getting good grades. They want to know what the score is. They want to keep score. They want to keep track. They pay attention to the clock. They pay attention to what other people are doing. They like to not copy other people's work, but they like to do copy work. They like to really understand exactly what's expected of them so that they can be exceptional. And it's not like the 4 other learning styles, okay? The creator is driven by a desire to create something new. The detective is driven by a desire to solve the mystery and learn everything they possibly can about the thing they're passionate about. The explorer is motivated to learn new things, try new things, take risks, and they love learning something new. The friend learner, they are driven by relationship, community, teamwork, collaboration, but the follower desires so much to understand what the person that they want to please wants of them, and they want to work hard to please you. They want to be seen as someone who is doing a good job. They really want you to be proud of them, and they're really willing to work hard and do well so that you will notice, and so that daddy, mommy, teacher, big brother, big sister will see that they've done a good job and you're proud of them. Be proud of these kids. A lot of times they will learn because they want to pass the test, and they'll get a really good grade in science. They'll get a good grade in art. They'll get a good grade in athletics, and they'll do really well. But they're not passionate about art. They're not passionate about science. They're not passionate about sports. They're passionate about getting a good score so that they can please you. And we want to make sure that they understand that it's okay to pursue and to learn something, not just for the sake of getting a good grade, but because learning is fun. And learning is an adventure, and it's exciting, and they need to know that they can be free to learn for the sake of learning, not just learn for the sake of proving that they're a good student. When we're trying so hard to get the creator and the explorer and the detective to be more like a follower, we're not respecting who they are. We're really not. The explorers are not meant to be employees and factory workers. They are created to be leaders, to go into the great unknown and do things that nobody else has the courage to do. The creators are going to be the entrepreneurs. They're not going to generally be employees unless they're working for Disney or something. They're going to be creating their own world, their own job. And if you don't equip the creator to become someone who can take responsibility for a business and for themselves, they're actually a lot of times really bad employees because they're such free thinkers and they don't really care that much about what the boss thinks. They care what they want to create. And so don't try to force everybody to be like the follower just because the followers are so easy to teach. And also, it's easy for the followers to really become perfectionists and to really be hard on themselves if there's something that they can't accomplish that they want to accomplish. So be gentle with your followers. They need to know it's okay if you're really, really good at math and you're really, really good at science, but maybe you're not good at art and music. that's okay. They need to know that. They need to know that they don't have to be perfect at everything. They need to know that a mistake isn't the worst thing that can happen. Because a lot of times we feel like we're being judged by everything we do wrong instead of being noticed for everything we do right. So for the follower, getting something wrong can be devastating, and they can be so hard on themselves. They have highs and lows. And if they're not the best student in the class, they're really going to struggle because they want to be the best. If you're homeschooling a child who is really driven to perfectionism and they mess up, I want to give you a different perspective. I want you to think about encouraging them and all the things that they did right instead of focusing on what they did wrong. So here's what it looks like. Your child writes an essay or a creative writing story, and they bring you their story. Now, the usual way of handling this is the teacher is going to grade the child by crossing out everything they did wrong. So your child writes a 2,000-word essay. And here's what I've done. Because I have a child who's really a perfectionist and really hard on herself. And she wrote an essay. And I went through and I circled every word she spelled right, everywhere she got the grammar correct, all the punctuation that was correct, I circled it. The things that she got wrong, I left uncircled. And I said, wow, you wrote a 2,000-word paper and you got 1,850 things right. 1,850 things right. That is incredible. I am so proud of you. What I could have done is like, nice try, but you got 150 things wrong. Right? Isn't that what we do? 150 things wrong. Just 11 or 12 years old. We need to stop this because what we're doing is we're creating these kids who are going to be so hard on themselves. And as they grow up, they're just going to feel lonely and isolated, and they're going to feel like they can never be good enough. So we've gone through all the different learning styles, and I want to talk about you now. Growing up, you were probably forced into this follower learning style, whether you were a follower or not. And the worst thing that you could do is make a mistake, because that's how school works. You are judged by your mistake, so you are graded by your mistakes. And so as you go through 12 years of every single day, your mistakes are being highlighted, you're going to develop within yourself this idea that a mistake is a really bad thing, so I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to take chances. And your world gets smaller and smaller, and your courage gets smaller and smaller, and you begin to be afraid to really step out in faith and try something new. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that you're this way. It's not your fault that you're driven to perfection and you're discouraged by mistakes. And it's not your fault that you feel like I'm never going to be good enough. And it's not your fault that your kids are struggling and they're having a really hard time with school and they're not doing what you want. The way that you were educated was most likely a way that was trying to fit you into a box where you did not belong, and you were being judged every single day by your mistakes. Become aware of the fact that yesterday you probably did 1,850 things right. And that is all that matters. We all yell at our kids sometimes. We all get discouraged. We all feel lonely. We all let the laundry stack up. We all have dishes in the sink. We all have to sweep the floor. We all have kids with bad attitudes. We all have hormonal times of the month. And it's just who we are. We're human. We'll always be human. You need to give yourself grace. I just want to encourage you, give yourself grace. Give your children grace. And then I want you to think about the ways that you can give your children the freedom to become who they were created to be. You're going to be saying, oh, what about standardization? Oh, what if they don't like math? Oh, what if they're behind grade level? Do you want your child to thrive and have joy in life and to become everything they were created to be? You're going to have to let go of this idea that the standardized child is the perfect child. And you need to let go of this idea of that there is some way to be a perfect parent, to be a perfect mother, to be a perfect homeschool mom, to be a perfect wife, to be a perfect homemaker. Forget it. But we are good enough. You know why you are good enough? Nobody loves your kids the way you do. And you will fight for them, and you will give everything you can for them. And so now, before we go, I'm just going to show you a couple tools. I'm a curriculum developer. I began developing homeschooling materials for my super creative kids who would be labeled with dyslexia, ADHD, and autism if they were in school. But thankfully, they were not in that situation, and I was able to work with them to create curriculum that they love. And so I'm just going to show you a few examples of what works for the different learning styles. First of all, this is a book for you, Mom. It's called Mom's Fun Schooling Handbook, Flip to Fun Schooling, an Idea Book, and Homeschooling Journal. This explains all those different learning styles I was talking about, and you can find that information in here. And so if you want to begin to explore a new way of homeschooling where you honor your child's learning style, fun schooling might be perfect for you. We actually have created curriculum for creators, explorers, detectives, friends, and even followers. So I'm going to show you a few examples to get you started and to give you some ideas. This is the Artist Fun Schooling Journal, homeschooling curriculum for students majoring in art. So if you have a child who's creative, good chance they need to be majoring in art. So let your creator major in that thing that they're passionate about. The Writer's Fun Schooling Journal. As your creator gets older, a lot of times you realize that they're storytellers and they want to become writers. And this is a fun schooling journal where all their different subjects are related to either art or writing, and they get to create. For the explorer, they love adventure, they love travel, they love learning about the world. And so this is Adventures Around the World, Social Studies and Geography. It's world schooling. World schooling is awesome for explorers. Get out there, take your explorer to see the world, take them on field trips, just get out of the desk and let them be active. This is Mission to Mars. If you have a child who is a major explorer, they probably are interested in things like going to Mars and learning about space. These are just a couple examples of books that might work great for a child with the explorer learning style. If you've got a child who has the detective learning style, there's a good chance that they love science. And so this is a Minecraft science portfolio where the kids get to study chemistry, meteorology, zoology, botany, technology, physics, and geology all in one book while playing Minecraft. A lot of times, the kids who are the detectives really like Minecraft for some reason, and they really like science. And so we put it together in one book, and here you go. We also have several books that are based on a specific theme for our detective kids. And this one is Rocks and Minerals. And I've found that a lot of kids who are the detective type really into rocks and minerals. They're really into animals. They're really into just learning more and more facts and information about the world and science. And so get one of the single subject journals about what they love. It could be dinosaurs. It could be dance. It could be rocks and minerals. It could be sharks. But go to the library and get a big stack of books on the thing that they're excited about, because you can learn every subject by doing unit studies with your detective child. If you have a friend learner, get into the kitchen. They want to bake with you. They want to cook with you. They want to do projects with you. And it's going to help your household because then you're going to have somebody else who's going to be helping out with making the meals. And you can learn so many things. You can learn science and math. You can learn culture through food and baking. So go for it with the baking. Another thing is Kids with that friend learning style, they want to know about people. They're very curious about learning about people. So they're actually into biographies, autobiographies, and studying people who made a difference because they are people who want to make a difference too. You have a child who is a follower. It's a little more tricky to fun school with the follower, but we have created several books that they love, and one of them is this one. It's called All About Money, Business, and Economics, and it goes step by step, learning all different things about understanding money, earning money, managing money, budgeting money, the history of money. Everybody's motivated by a desire to have money and to use it, and so this is a great one for your followers. The Chef's Fun Schooling Journal, this covers many subjects, but since they're a follower, they enjoy following recipes and they enjoy learning what happens when you mix up ingredients and you put them in the oven. And this gives them a chance to follow the instructions, create something, and then serve their family. And the followers love to do things where they can bring joy and pleasure and make people proud. And so by getting into the kitchen with your follower kids and with your friend kids and with your creator friends, it's such a great place to homeschool. And so I would encourage you to make cooking and baking just a part of your homeschool because that is a great way to do little mini projects every single day. Every time you cook and bake, you are doing a project that includes science, math, history, culture, and art. And so just make that part of your homeschooling and your kids are going to love it. You're going to love it. So what's my learning style? I am a creator mixed with a detective. Yes, we are blends. So I'm a creator detective, and interestingly enough, I am dyslexic, and I'm high functioning on the spectrum too. Had a lot of struggles with that as a kid, and so I've got that detective in me. I've got that creator in me, and thankfully, I had a mom and a dad who saw my gifts and saw my abilities and decided to focus on my gifts instead of on my struggles and my problems. That really helped me to thrive. Thanks for joining us. And you will find links in the comments to the books that I shared with you. There are so many more. Being a detective and being a creator, I love creating curriculum about all these different topics that my kids and your kids want to learn about. And so I've collaborated with my kids. They want to collaborate, especially the friend learners and the creators and the detectives, to create fun schooling curriculum. So you can go to funschooling.com and you can see all this amazing curriculum that my kids and I created. We also collaborated with lots of homeschooling moms around the world who said, could you create a fun schooling book about rocks or sharks or heroes and villains or baking? So over the past 10 years, we've created so many books based on the requests of parents and kids who love the fun schooling method and want to learn about different things. If you are using a fun schooling book, what you're going to do is you're going to open up to the first page and it's going to say, get some books on this topic to use along with this handbook. And then the fun schooling book has lots of different prompts to help you learn about, journal, write, and draw about the thing you're learning using library books, documentaries, YouTube videos, and real life experience while doing projects. Your kids are going to love it. My goal was to create curriculum for kids who learn outside the box. So all of my books are especially designed with creators, explorers, and detectives in mind because there is so little curriculum out there for those three learning styles. If you have a friend learner, they love using my books too, as long as you do it together. And if you have a follower, they're going to struggle a little bit more with this method. This method is not for everybody. And so I would encourage you to find something that has more structure for your follower learner. And I would encourage you to explore ideas with your follower learner about something that they want to learn about, not something that they have to learn about, but what do they love? And once you find out what your follower learner loves, maybe they really do love rocks. Maybe they love dance. Maybe they love travel. Then get one fun schooling book for them and do it together and show them how proud you are of them. And remember, don't try to fit your kid into any other mold, and especially don't expect your child to be like you, because we're all so unique. And just because you're different doesn't mean it's bad. Don't focus on the mistakes, focus on the things that are right. And I would really appreciate it if you would share this video, because I believe that what I've shared with you today can really make a transformative difference in the lives of people who are struggling to understand and teach their children. You had a dream to homeschool. You get to customize your child's education around them. You get to be together. But if it's stressful and things aren't working, I guarantee you just don't understand your child's learning style, or you haven't embraced it.